Hello, my name is Euphorius and welcome to EVE Online. This tutorial is going to be a guide for new players to familiarize themselves with the game and learn how to start and kind of get into the beginning of the game. It's a very complex game and this tutorial is not going to be the be-all end-all. It will not explain every facet of the game. It would take dozens of hours. But it's designed to help get you into the game and give you a good starting point. So we're going to start with factions first. This is the screen you're going to come to when you start the game and create your first character. You will choose one of the 4 factions here. Each faction is unique in its own way and has its kind of flavor that makes it unique. For Caldari, the faction is a kind of corporate entity. You can see state, corporation, family, that's kind of what it's built around. The ships themselves are shield tank base. They specialize in missile systems, and their E-War type is ECM, which you'll learn about more later. The second faction here is Galente. They are kind of like the democratic faction in EVE. Their ships are mostly armor tanked and use hybrid weapon systems. And each race, even though they have these specialties, they'll cross over in some ways. Minmatar are they used to be slaves, and they kind of do a little shield and armor tank, but I would say they're more shield, and they use projectile weapon systems. And then Amar are the religious zealots of EVE. They use mostly armor tank, and they are the only race I think that can use lasers. So your starting race isn't incredibly important. You do get starting skills based on which race you choose, and for that reason Galente is probably the best starting race because you get access to the Vexor, which is the best early game money-making ship. But each of them have their own kind of uniqueness and quirkiness, so pick whichever one kind of suits you, and then you can cross-train into the other races eventually anyway. To create our character, we're going to go ahead and click on Galente. As I said, they're the kind of best starting race for new players. And you just pick your bloodline. There isn't any significance to this, really. Here you can design your character. You can spend as much time as you want here to make them unique and interesting. We're just going to go with random. Click next. We're going to take a photo, and this photo will be your essentially profile picture in the game, or your character's picture. And then for a name, we're going to do one of those. Then we'll randomize the last name, and it's available. So we're going to go ahead and create our character. You can take as much time choosing your ancestry, your education, your bloodline, your faction. You can take your time, spend as much time as you need, make your character unique and interesting. But most of this stuff does not have a big impact on gameplay. Once you load into the game, you'll be in the starting tutorial here. I recommend you completely follow this tutorial. It will teach you all the basics of the game, and you will be able to go from there. We, however, are just going to skip the tutorial, and we're going to go dock. So a little bit about the interface you're going to see here. The first thing I recommend is moving this over, bringing your overview up, and make your overview quite a bit bigger. Your overview isn't going to look exactly like this. This is a custom overview, but the layout is kind of important. And you can see I'm separating my local and corp chat here. That is so that I always have access to my local chat no matter what I'm doing. Local is really important for Eve, so you can see who's in the system with you and you can make decisions better. So we have some different buttons up here on our selected item tab. If we click different things, it will show our selected item here. Align to essentially just means point your ship in that direction and accelerate to warp speed. Your ship has to be 75% of its max speed to enter warp in that direction. So if you're moving, in the opposite direction, you won't enter warp. There is a button to warp here. You can also right click and set a warp to within, warp to 0, align dock, etc. Dock, orbit. You can right click on orbit and set a default distance. That will allow you to select your target, click orbit on them, and then you will orbit at that selected distance. Keep it range, you can do the same thing. Keep it range will essentially just keep you at a set distance, say 30 kilometers. And that's good if you don't want to get too close to a target for whatever reason. You can also look at objects. So once we're aligned, we're going to go ahead and warp over. And we're going to dock. I want to spend some time going over the interface and kind of get you accustomed to navigating the interface and knowing all of the options that you have available to you. Information in Eve is key, and it is very complex, and understanding that complexity is crucial to playing the game. As you can see, we have warped to the station. Going over a little bit more of the interface here, we have our different modules down here. We can select these and they will activate. Normally they need a target, but for our afterburner, we can just activate it. And the module has to completely cycle before it will turn off. That is what this white circle that represents. There's also this green thing here. And if you shift click it, or you can right click it and turn on overload, that will essentially allow you to get increased performance from the module at a risk of the module being damaged and eventually destroyed and inoperable. That'll be more useful in PvP when you need the absolute max performance out of your ship. Here in the center, we have your ship information. The white bars here are your shield, armor, and structure from the outside to the inside. As those deplete, they will turn red. And when your structure reaches 0, your ship will be destroyed and you will be ejected into your pod. Here in the center, we have your capacitor level. Capacitor is used for activating modules. So as you can see, we activated our afterburner and it took away some of our capacitor. Down here we have our speed. You can set full speed, stop the ship. You can also double click in the direction you want to go, and that will set your speed to max in that direction. Control space stops your ship. It is a very useful tool. In case you accidentally click the wrong thing, you can just immediately stop your ship. This green dot right here is your safety. While in Empire space, it is always good to have your safety set to green. If you set your safety to yellow or red, you can commit crimes. And if you commit a red level crime, Concord will come and destroy your ship. Yellow level crimes will make you a criminal. Concord will not come kill you, but you will be able to be engaged by anyone on grid with you. And grid is just this space you're in. So If you commit that yellow level crime, you can be engaged on by other players with no consequence to them. Normally in Empire Space, if I was to attack this person sitting right here, Concord would come and kill me. But if they've committed a crime, I can attack them at no risk to myself other than them attacking me. Here we have our holds and bays. It will open up your ship inventory. Here you have your basic ship inventory. Then you have a drone bay, and some other ships might have other different types of bays. Here we have our camera controls. You can switch to tactical cam, orbit cam, or first person. First person is not very useful for fighting or moving, but it's pretty cinematic. Here we have our tactical overlay. If you turn it on, it shows distances from you. It is useful when you're in a bigger fight and trying to control distance with people. Here we have scanners. So these different scanners will allow you to scan different things. The probe scanner is used for exploration and scanning down these sites. The moon probe and analysis, this is for probing moons and seeing what resources they have. D-scan is probably the most useful. It'll allow you to scan and see what ships are around you. So you can see there are only 2 Bellators on grid with me, but I can see, 10 here. And D-scan will allow you to foresee enemies coming onto grid with you or being able to find enemies within a system. I really encourage you to look up a tutorial on how to D-scan and get proficient with it. It is a very good skill to have within EVE. Then we have our solar system map. This just shows the basic solar system layout, the different planets, moons, anomalies, etc. Then down here we have the autopilot. So if you set a system as a waypoint and you click autopilot, it will automatically take you there. Only use autopilot if you are okay with your ship dying, because even though we are in Empire Space and Concord will come kill anyone that commits a crime on us, people will still kill you for pretty much no reason, but especially if you're carrying valuable loot or you're in a valuable ship, you can just be killed. So autopilot is not the most efficient way to travel. It will land you 12 kilometers from a gate instead of at 0, and you have to be within 2,500 meters to jump through the gate. So as you're moving through systems, you will be vulnerable for a lot longer on those gates as you approach them. Also, we have our system information up here. This number is the security status of the system. 0.5 and above is high security. These are systems that Concord will enforce the laws. They will come kill anyone that commits a red crime, and anyone that commits a yellow crime will be freely engageable by anyone else. This shows your route right here, and this shows the faction that owns the system you're in. So, another thing that is really important to note, pretty much anything in the game, like a name or the system, you can drag into chat, and it will instantly link that thing. So if I drag Borns into Corp Chat and click it, if anyone clicks on that, it will bring up the system information. This is the same with characters, corporations, alliances, items, pretty much anything in the game, you can drag it into there. You can also click here and, add waypoints, show on your map, that kind of thing, if it was a fitting. So you can open up your fitting tab and drag in the name of your ship, and it will link the fit. So my fit is linked. Anyone that clicks on it can see what my fit is. This is really useful if you're trying to get feedback on a fit that you've created or using and want your friends or your corp to give you feedback. You can just drag your fit in and they will be able to see it and give you suggestions based on that information. Now we're going to go over the interface a little bit. I don't want to take too much time on it. It is very complicated. There are a ton of menus, and we could talk about it for half an hour, and I don't want to spend that much time on it. The main thing I want to stress is you should take time to explore the Neocom. So all of these icons here can be found in the Neocom. And if there's anything in the Neocom that you want to add over here to the side, you can. So if you want your wallet to always be accessible, you can drag it over here. In the Neocom, there are a ton of different menus in here that essentially represent all of the major aspects of the game. The biggest thing I want to touch on is the agency here. The agency is where you're going to find all of your missions. It has links to all of the signatures in the game, asteroid belts, anomalies, ice belts. And this is where we want to start. So once you've done the tutorial, you want to focus on the career agents. Do each of these career paths. Each career path will lay out a specific aspect of the game, and doing all of these career paths will give you a lot of starting resources, a lot of starting skills, and will help familiarize yourself with the game. By doing these career paths, you will get an idea of what interests you in the game, whether it's exploration or industry or fighting people. Maybe you already have an idea, but now you get to do all these things and see what they're like. So do all these to completion. Each one: business, exploration, industry, military, career, military, and then advanced military. Then come back to these epic arcs right here. Once you've done all of your career missions, you should do the epic arc, the Bloodstained Stars. This will give you a good amount of starting capital. It will teach you some basics about fitting and making a ship do a specific thing well. And it will give you a lot of information and kind of help you explore EVE Online. Once you have done this, join a corporation. Joining a corporation is so important, and finding a corporation you mesh well with and that likes to do the same things you do and has the same mindset will help you enjoy the game so much more. EVE is very much a social game, and the game itself is not what is amazing. It's the interaction of the game and the people in it. So finding a group to play with is important, whether it's 2-3 people or 500. But that will really help you enjoy the game and learn a lot. There are new player corporations such as EVE University, Brave, Pan Am Accord, Karma Fleet. If you need help, you can contact me and I'll try to help you. My character will be in the description below. And if you want to join my corporation, I run a new player corporation. I'd be happy to have you. Just send me a message. If you need to send me a message and ask me anything, it doesn't have to be to join my corporation or anything. I would be happy to help you with anything you need. Not chat channels. If you go to your mail, you can compose. You just type in my character name, which is Minok Arakal. You can just be like, help me please. Type in your description and hit send. That's the easiest way to contact me. And this video is not designed to give you all the information. It's just about helping you find your way forward. In addition to that, if you use my referral link to create an account, so if you've already created an account and spent any money on it, I wouldn't do this. But if you've not put any time into your account, you can use my referral link below. You will start out with an extra 750,000 skill points. That's a pretty substantial amount. It will help you train a lot of skills to begin with. So you can see to get this skill up to level 3, it would be 256,000 skill points, which is about a day and a half of training time. So the skill points will be really helpful going forward. And not only that, but you will automatically have me added to your contact list so we can talk there. So the rules of Eve are, there aren't many real rules. You're not allowed to abuse any glitches or take advantage of anything that is broken in the game. But stealing from people or lying to people, all of that is completely allowed and encouraged in the game for the most part. So the biggest thing in Eve is not really trusting anyone. You should always have a bit of lack of trust for everybody, even if you've known them for a long time. It is not uncommon for people to stab people in the back that they've known for a long time or been friends with. So always be cautious and think about every decision, because you could be taken advantage of. The biggest and most important thing in Eve is you are, right now, where I'm at, docked is the only place you're safe. The second I click this undock button, I can be killed. There is a small invulnerable window when you undock, but if you are in space, you can be killed. And people will kill you for fun. They will kill you to take your stuff. They will kill you to see you rage. That's EVE Online. So just take into account, when you undock, you are consenting to PvP. Even if you're in high security 1.0, you can be killed. So definitely get used to that thought process. The second most important rule kind of goes along with that is never fly any ship that you can't afford to lose. If you can't replace a ship or be completely okay with the loss, do not fly it. That goes for the biggest ships in the game. If you're flying a Titan, you should always be ready to lose it, because it is always a possibility. Corporation rights. If you are running a corporation, do not ever give corporation rights to anyone you can't trust. Absolutely. People will take advantage to you. They will take your stuff. They will flip your corporation. It's happened many times, and it'll continue to happen. If someone is offering free stuff, it's probably a trap. A lot of new player corps will give out free stuff, but if you're sitting in local chat and someone's like, oh, check out this contract with, really rare items for really cheap, it's probably a trap. People will try to scam you in interesting ways, so always question everything. There are people that are nice in the game. I run a new player corporation. I help out people. I give them free stuff, but you should always take things with a grain of salt. If you have something to lose, you should always protect it. If you lose anything in this game, it is probably your fault. It is always going to be a learning experience, and sometimes glitches and stuff can happen, but it's probably your fault and just you not understanding the game or the game mechanics, and people will take advantage of that. Expensive things are not always better. A Titan is very powerful, but if it does not have support, it is a dead Titan. Bigger isn't always better. A battleship can easily be killed by a few frigates. It's just about understanding game mechanics and what you have to work with. skills do matter a lot, but even a untrained pilot can be very helpful in a fleet. Always check your ship insurance, like I said earlier. Always make sure your ship is insured if you're going to potentially lose it. There's no such thing as fair in this game. People will drop 30 or 40 pilots on you to kill you. Every once in a while you might get some people that want to have a fair brawl, but in general, fairness is not what EVE is about. It's a very cruel world, and people will use every advantage they have. Just because you can fly something doesn't mean you should. It takes a lot of time to learn how to fly ships. It takes a lot of skills to fly ships. So just because you could sit and say a battleship probably doesn't mean that you should be flying that battleship. You want to learn smaller ships, learn PvP, learn how to get out of different situations before you take on a bigger ship. Learn from other people, learn from their mistakes, get advice, practice on the test server, do whatever you have to do. But, just because you can fly that ship, just because you have the skills to be in it, doesn't mean that you should be in it. If you engage in PvP long enough, you will lose your ship eventually. It's not a if, it's a when. Everybody loses ships. It's just how long you live with it. So the game it takes a long time to get into a lot of stuff in the game, the bigger ships and that kind of thing. But even as a new player, you can do a lot of things. There's a ton that you can do in the game, and it's just about finding your group of people or an avenue to do those things. Even a frigate in a big fleet can be super useful and help get big kills. So if you're a new player, just kind of figure out how you can help out and try to help out as best you can and learn as much as you can. So I know at this point this has been a pretty lengthy video. I know it's been a lot of information, but we've really only scratched the surface. I could go in depth about damage types, about drone types, different places to mine, common shortcuts in the game. I could talk about common abbreviations that people use, terms that you'll hear, all kinds of things. But I really just want this video to be a introduction in how to access the information you need. Being able to, right click on someone and go to show info and seeing information about them, or clicking on an item or showing someone your fit. These are all things that'll help you gain more knowledge. And I could talk for hours about all the different things in EVE, but empowering a new player to be able to find that information is the most important thing in my opinion. So the big takeaways, make sure you finish your tutorial missions, do the basic tutorial, complete all of these career paths. Like I said, these are super important. Then go over and do your Sisters of Eve epic arc here. This will give you a lot of skills, a lot of ships, and a lot of kind of starting capital that you can experiment with. This is very important learning time that a new player can benefit from. So try to take advantage as much as you can, ask questions. And then if you really like EVE and you want to keep learning, join a corporation. Joining a corporation is the most important thing in EVE. You can see there are a lot of people here, and I'm already in a corp, but this is an NPC corp. You want to be surrounded by players that have a common goal and do things that you like to do. People that you enjoy hanging out with. This is a social game. EVE PvP is really exciting. making money in this game is not. Mining is not exciting. Ratting is not exciting. The people are what make the game exciting. So take advantage. Find a corporation. If you want to mail me in game, you can. My name is Minok Arakal, and I will have that posted in the description. You can send me a mail in game. I will help you in any way I can. I will help you find a corporation that fits you. If you want to join my corporation, I'd be happy to have you for the most part. But I think it's important that new players go out and really find a corporation that fits for them. And not every corporation will, but if you want to be an EVE long term and do all the cool stuff that you see in videos, corporations are essential. So with that, if you have any questions or concerns, please post them in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you found it informative. But this was Euphorious. Welcome to the game. Safe flying.